August 7, 1944, dawn crawled across the slopes of the Morton Plain in a grey, muted haze, the kind of light that turned every hedgerow into a wall of shadows. Lieutenant James Red Morgan stood half-exposed in his Sherman's open turret, scanning the countryside with binoculars chilled by the night's mist. Morgan's tank sat wedged in a narrow Norman lane bordered by thick hedges, natural fortresses grown from decades of farming. Beneath him, the Sherman's engine rumbled steady, the faint vibrations rolling up through his boots and into his bones. The previous 48 hours had been chaos. The Germans had launched Operation Lutich, a desperate counterstrike designed to slice through the American advance and seal the breakout toward Ivry. Mortain had become the eye of the storm. Armor, infantry, artillery, and aircraft clashed in a swirling contest of speed and will. Morgan and his crew had barely slept, moving from one threatened sector to another, plugging gaps before they widened into disaster. Inside the Sherman, the atmosphere was tense but controlled. Driver Lewis hunched over the controls, knuckles white from gripping the levers. Carver, the gunner, adjusted his elevation wheel with the nervous precision of a man who understood the stakes. Dunn, the loader, inspected each shell for imperfections before sliding it into the rack. Jensen, the bowgunner, peered through his narrow viewing slit, murmuring quiet updates. Morgan's nickname came from his eyes permanently bloodshot from fatigue and stress. The men trusted those eyes. Though, when they squinted, it meant danger. When they widened, it meant something even worse. That morning, they squinted. He lowered his binoculars. Something big is coming. At first, the crew heard nothing but the groan of wind through branches. Then the sound reached them deep, metallic, rhythmic, not the nimble whine of a panther, not the rattling clatter of a Panzer IV. This noise was slower, heavier, commanding the earth beneath it. Carver's hands froze. "Red, tell me that's not it is," Morgan said. The Tiger I, Germany's armored behemoth, rolled into view through the thinning fog. Its massive silhouette seemed to bend the air around it. The long 88mm gun, capable of ripping through a Sherman from over a mile, swept the lane slowly. Infantry followed behind, tense and alert, rifles raised toward the hedges. Morgan felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach. The Sherman was reliable, fast, and easy to repair, but it was no match for a Tiger head-on. Its 75mm gun could barely scratch the front plate. A frontal duel meant death, but Morgan knew something the Tiger commander didn't. The lane ahead narrowed, limiting the Tiger's maneuverability. A slow-turning turret plus a tight corridor spelled opportunity. Lewis, Morgan ordered, "Reverse 10 yards. Keep us behind that hedge cut." Lewis eased the Sherman back. Leaves brushed the hull. Carver breathed slow, steady breaths, adjusting his sights. Dunn stood ready, hands hovering near the ammunition rack. Jensen gripped his machine gun, though he knew it meant little against the armored giant approaching. The Tiger halted. Its turret rotated toward them, slow, deliberate, almost lazy, as if it had all the time in the world. Morgan watched the movement carefully. The turret ring, exposed where the armor met the hull, was thinner than the rest. A well-placed shot could jam it. The Tiger crept closer, 15 yards, 14. The earth vibrated beneath its weight. "Hold," Morgan whispered. Carver swallowed. "Red, we're cutting it close." "Closer," Morgan replied. At 12 yards the Tiger adjusted its angle, showing the vulnerable joint between turret and hull. Morgan took a breath. Carver fired. The Sherman rocked backward as the gun fired. Smoke filled the turret. Dunn flinched instinctively. The round slammed into the Tiger's turret ring, sending sparks flying. The Tiger shuddered. Its turret jerked, mid-dash rotation. Then stopped, jammed. Jensen's voice cracked in the excitement. "Red, you jammed it. You actually jammed it." But Morgan didn't flinch. "A jammed Tiger still has an 88. Lewis threw the Sherman into reverse moments before the Tiger fired. The 88mm round burst through the hedge, obliterating branches and soil where the Sherman had been seconds earlier. The blast rocked the crew, ears ringing. "We flank," Morgan said calmly. "It can't turn that turret." They maneuvered along a parallel farm track hidden behind hedges. Morgan calculated angles, distances, and timing. If they reached the Tiger's side armor before it pivoted its hull, they had a chance. Only a chance. But enough. "Stop here," Morgan said. "Done. AP round. Carver, be ready." The Sherman burst through the hedgerow into a clearing beside the Tiger. The German crew spotted them instantly. Smoke surged from the Tiger's exhaust as it attempted a desperate rotation. Carver fire. The shot hit the side armor. Flames flickered beneath the plate. Again, the second shot punched through the lower hull. A burst of fire erupted. The Tiger's engine sputtered, then died. Its crew began to bail out. Silence filled the Sherman. Carver whispered, We killed a tiger. Morgan didn't reply, because farther down the valley, shapes moved through fog. More armor coming, and the battle for Mortine was only beginning. The burning tiger smoldered behind them as Morgan scanned the valley floor. Through the drifting smoke, he saw more shapes pushing forward. German armor, infantry. Mortine wasn't just a battlefield anymore. It was a bottleneck, one that the Germans meant to burst open. If they broke through, the American supply roads behind the ridge would collapse, and with them, the entire breakout toward Ivrench's Red 2. This is battalion. The radio crackled. Tiger destroyed confirmed, but enemy armor still advancing toward Hill 314. Your closest. Hold until reinforcements arrive. Morgan pressed the transmit button. Copy, will hold the crossroads. Carver stared at him. Red, we barely survived that first tiger. Morgan didn't respond. He simply lifted his binoculars again and studied the terrain. Mortaine's patchwork of hedgerows, orchards, and narrow lanes made it a labyrinth. A tiger could dominate a straight road, but in this terrain, clever positioning mattered more than armor thickness, and Morgan was very, very good at choosing positions. Lewis, he said, move us east. We'll cover the approach to the foot of Hill 314. As they advanced, wrecked vehicles lined the roadside, burned out half-tracks, abandoned jeeps, shattered fences. The smell of hot metal mixed with wet grass. American infantry huddled behind stone walls, some firing downhill, others tending to wounded men brought back from the ridge. An exhausted sergeant waved the Sherman over. Lieutenant, you're the first tank we've seen since dawn. Morgan leaned out of the cupola. How bad is it up there? Bad, the sergeant replied. The Germans hit us with everything. Infantry, armor, artillery. They want that hill, and armor. 2 more tigers, at least. 1 panther, maybe more. Morgan exchanged a look with Carver. Carver forced a shaky smile. Guess the fun's not over. The sergeant gestured toward the ridge. We need 10 minutes. Our men on the hill are low on ammo. If you can stall them, just stall them, we might hold. Morgan nodded. We'll give you your 10 minutes. The Sherman rumbled forward, crossing a small stone bridge before entering a wider field, broken by hedges and shell craters. This was dangerous ground, open enough for long-range fire, tight enough to hide a tiger. Jensen suddenly spoke. Movement, left hedge, something big. Morgan snapped his head toward the indicated direction. The hedge bulged, then parted. A Panzer IV emerged, turret rotating to engage them. Carver, on it. The Sherman fired before the Panzer completed its traverse. The round struck the German tank's turret front and deflected upward, knocking the cupola hatch open. The Panzer fired wildly, overshooting again. Carver fired a second time. The shell hit the right hullplate. Flames erupted from the Panzer's engine compartment. Its crew scrambled out, running for the ditch. Morgan exhaled. 1 down. Keep moving. But the real threat hadn't appeared yet. The tiger, they heard it before seeing it. Deep, thunderous, unmistakable. Lewis slowed the Sherman. The lane curved ahead, framed by tall hedges. Smoke drifted through the air. Then, the tiger appeared. It pushed through a hedge like it was brushing aside paper. Its turret remained jammed, likely from earlier combat, but its hull gun pointed forward, menacing and steady. The German commander rode half out of the hatch, scanning with binoculars. Morgan acted instantly. Lewis, stop. Carver, load. Carver asked. Trust me. Dunn shoved a high explosive round into the breach. Up, fire at the ground beneath him, Morgan said. Kick dust in his face. Carver fired. The he shell struck the dirt in front of the tiger, blasting soil and debris upward. Dust coated the tiger's periscopes. The commander flinched, raising a hand to protect his eyes. Lewis, reversed. New position. The Sherman backed into a second hedgerow corridor, disappearing from the tiger's immediate view. Morgan's tactic was simple. Blind the tiger, relocate, and strike from another angle. They turned onto a sunken lane that ran parallel to the tiger's route. Morgan knew this ground. He'd studied it at dawn, memorizing every dip, every opening. He pointed ahead. Lewis, take that orchard path. We'll hit his flank again. As they maneuvered, Carver kept the gun trained on likely German angles. Dunn prepared armor-piercing rounds. Jensen scanned the rear, guarding against infantry with Panzerfausts. Stop here, Morgan ordered. Through a gap in the hedges, the tiger lumbered into view again. It had cleared its periscopes and advanced cautiously, wary of another ambush. But it didn't know Red 2 was beside it, now just 1 hedgerow away. Morgan shouted. Lewis, break through now. The Sherman burst through the hedge, branches snapping under its bow. The Tiger crew reacted, trying desperately to rotate the hull, but the confined lane restricted movement. Carver side plate fire. The Sherman's AP round slammed into the Tiger's flank. A small explosion rippled under the armor, hit him again. Dunn rammed another shell into the breach. Carver fired. The round struck deeper this time. Flames flickered at the Tiger's rear. The German tank halted, sputtering smoke. The crew began to bail out. Morgan didn't wait for congratulations. "Lewis, back us out. There's more coming." The radio crackled again. Red 2. Another Tiger moving toward the ridge from the orchard. "Infantry can't stop it. They need armor." Morgan inhaled slowly. "Copy, we're on it." He glanced at his crew. Lewis looked terrified but determined. Carver wiped sweat from his forehead. Dunn's hands shook slightly as he reached for another round. Jensen adjusted his periscope with steady motions. "All right, boys," Morgan whispered. "One more Tiger," and they moved toward the orchard, into the smoke, toward the thunder of another impossible battle. The orchard ahead lay silent, the branches swaying gently in the breeze like nothing unusual was happening, like a Tiger tank wasn't somewhere inside it, hunting anything that moved. Morgan knew better. The quiet wasn't peace. It was the stillness that came before someone died. He leaned forward in the turret, eyes narrowed as the Sherman crept toward a break in the trees. "Easy, Lewis," Morgan whispered. "Tiger's close." Carver adjusted his sights. "Red, if he sees us first, we're done." Morgan didn't disagree. In open ground, a Tiger could shred a Sherman before they ever got into range. But in Normandy's twisted maze of orchards and hedges, the Tiger's advantages vanished. The giant needed space to fight. Red 2 thrived where things were tight, messy, unpredictable. A distant rumble vibrated through the earth. Jensen stiffened. "Contact." Straight ahead, Morgan raised his field glasses. Through the trees, a massive shadow shifted. Broad turret, long barrel, unmistakable silhouette. The second Tiger was angling toward Hill 314, using the orchard as cover. If it reached the ridge, the infantry holding the crest wouldn't last minutes. Morgan spoke quietly. "We can't wait for a perfect angle. We take the shot we're given." Lewis nodded. "Just say when." Morgan inhaled. "Push through the next row. Carver, be ready on traverse." The Sherman broke through a line of apple trees, bursting into a clearing that opened onto the Tiger's right flank. The German tank started turning immediately, treads grinding as it fought to bring its gun around. The Tiger commander pointed toward the Sherman, shouting orders. Carver lined up the shot. "Angle's good. Just give me steady ground." Lewis corrected their movement, sliding the Sherman sideways behind a low stone wall. Morgan shouted, "Carver!" The round struck the Tiger's rear quarter, punching into the engine deck. Flame spat outward, crackling across the armor. The Tiger lurched, slowed, then tried to rotate fully toward them. Its gun swung closer, again. Morgan barked. Dunn slammed another AP round into the breach with shaking hands. Carver fired. This time, the shell pierced deep, sending a burst of smoke out through the Tiger's ventilation grates. The Tiger rolled forward a few more feet, then stopped altogether. Its engine coughed. Fire spread beneath the rear plate. One by one, the crew scrambled out, waving rags as smoke poured around them. Inside the Sherman, the crew exhaled in disbelief. Jensen wiped his brow. "Red, that's 2 Tigers in one morning." Lewis laughed breathlessly. "I'm buying you a drink every day until the war ends." Carver leaned back from the sight, exhausted. "Tell me we're heading back now." Morgan looked toward Hill 314. American infantry still held the crest. German armor below lay burning. The counterattack was faltering. The line had bent, but hadn't broken. He finally allowed himself a small smile. "Yeah, we did what we came to do." The Sherman turned away from the orchard, rolling back toward friendly lines. Behind them, the smoke of 2 destroyed Tigers curled upward into the sky, silent proof that courage and quick thinking could topple even the battlefield. Most feared giant. And that morning at Mortain, James Red Morgan and his crew showed the world that the Tiger might have been king of the battlefield, but even kings could fall.